Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of the Articulate Fly, and we're back with another Central Virginia fishing report with Ethan Martin at TaleTellers Fly Shop. How you doing, Ethan?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing?
As always, just trying to stay out of trouble and stay cool, and took a quick look at your weather, and you got a couple hot days, but then you're going to have a little bit of a cooling trend in Central Virginia.
Oh yeah, should be good fishing. The smallmouth bite has been pretty decent, I'd say. It was pretty good over the weekend with that rain that we got. So forecast is looking great.
Yeah, and so you were telling me the water's up and a little bit stained, which probably means you've barely been fishing more subsurface, but heading into the weekend, the popper bite's probably going to pick up again, right?
Yeah, I think so. With the smallmouth, I mean, up in the summertime is nowhere near the amount that it is in the wintertime. We're talking maybe like 1,000 CFS, and that spike goes down pretty quick because a lot of those plants and stuff are also soaking up a lot of the water that does drop. I'm saying the river went up a little bit, but it still isn't like crazy high flows or anything like that. And then by this weekend, we're going to be back to normal looking water for the most part. Depending on what side of the creek of the James you're on. Down here in actual Lynchburg, like I just literally came over one of the little tributary streams that dumps in that runs right through town, and it was still running like chocolate milk. But that'll clean up here soon, and all the extra little streams that dump into the James, I will give it its clarity or the mud-esque look. So upstream of us, I'm sure it's going to be running. It probably is already running nice and back to clear. It's mainly just downstream of us where you get into a little bit more of that, like what I would term like the flat-ish lands, because that's where you're going to have more of your mud and sediment, that sort of stuff, that can come into the water. So you can keep that in mind when we do get these rain little shots. That you can always go upriver. I would say Lynchburg is one of the benchmarks of when you're going to start seeing that clarity of water, just because of the dams and because you do have more of the freestone that's a rock textured bottom, more so than the red clay that we have. It's a little bit more normal down here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the trick, right, is to get upstream of Blackwater Creek.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's always muddy. And, we were talking before we started recording, and, we're kind of in the dog days of summer in the mid-Atlantic. And, at least down here in the Carolinas, I know trout fishing is not great because the nighttime lows are in the mid-70s. I imagine it's probably the same where you are.
Yep. Yeah, you're pretty much spot on there. Most people that are fishing for trout now are traveling. And so pretty much our game in town is smallmouth and pond fishing. Some people dog that and, all they want to do is catch trout. Other people, if it's got fins, it's viable. And so I kind of fall a little bit more in that category. I love trout. At the same time, I also do really enjoy smallmouth and the fact that I can get out without having to put on waders and gloves and jackets. And the thing too with smallmouth, like this year in particular, I've actually been pleased with the James compared to past years, which I think I've said this before. But I went out the other day with my kids and we caught like a load of sunfish. And, that's kind of cool because the past couple of years on the James, it's hard to find some of those bait fish or smaller smallmouth. And so it's been a good numbers year. So in a way, like, the past 2 weeks have we been catching the biggest fish out in the rivers. No, not consistently. We've had really good numbers days, which could be, depending on who you are. I see some people post on Facebook, caught 50 plus fish. And then you see some people who are like, I caught 5 fish, and that's a great day. So depends on who you are, but it's kind of been, you really don't know, in terms of the day, what's going to be working best. So it's just show up with a couple of options, if that's topwater, bait fish, maybe a couple of crayfish. And, if it's me, I usually always start off with topwater and see what's happening there. And then if I'm not getting anything, then I'm usually going to go to bait fish or some sort of active retrieved fly, something I'm going to like pull back towards me. But it's been a good summer so far, so I don't have any complaints. I'm assuming the topwater is only going to get better as we get later into the summer. We've got a lot of the annual cicadas this year, so it should be good. We're there.
Yeah. And so when you start out a day fishing, I know you like to fish topwater. Are you, fishing, we talk about for you, like, the difference between active topwater for bait fish and things like that versus passive for like cicadas. What's your preference when you start out on top?
I usually start passive, and that's mainly just because I'm waiting for those big fish that are eating cicadas. Um, I mean, to be honest, I really like watching a fish come up and just slurp down a bug. Like there's something satisfying about that, seeing a big smallmouth pretend he's a brown trout. At the same time, though, I would probably say it's a little bit more exciting to like have a bait fish pattern that's on the surface that you're like actively retrieving and watching a fish like hunt that down and destroy it. That can be a lot of fun too. But for the most part, I like making those the Chuck Craft, his popping bugs, the Excaliburs. And so it kind of goes into that vein for me of like, I enjoy the artistic side of making the bugs. So therefore I've got 1 million of those bugs. And then that leads me to fishing with them because I have to do something with them, and they're they're just too important to just like, put in a box and never use. So
yeah, there you go. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email them to us. You can DM us on social media. You can even drop them in the comments of our social media feed, whatever's easiest for you. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag. And we're in a drawing for something cool from the shop at the end of the season. And, Ethan, before I let you go, are there any special events at the shop? And then, of course, always be sure to share hours and all that kind of good stuff with us.
Yeah, we're going to do a few special things this upcoming weekend, which will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we've got a few deals going on. So if you follow us on Instagram, you can go there and look at one of the last posts that we made, and you can see all of those there. We're doing stuff like 20% off on flies and a few other cool things. So you can find us in Lynchburg, Virginia. We're in downtown. If you can make it out this weekend, that's awesome. If you can't, all of those deals will also be in our online store, which is TaleTellersVA.com. And you can just bring up our website and you can shop there or see what we have inside the store. And then, of course, we're also on Instagram and Facebook and all those social media streams. So a couple different ways to get in touch with us.
Yeah, I saw that Instagram post. That buy one, get one free TNT rod deal is pretty sweet.
Well, you never know.
Got to move some units. Well, listen, folks.
Yeah.
Folks, you owe it to yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, Ethan.
Tight lines.